Hi, I'm Soraya Mia, and this is Awani Tonight. A UN report says climate change will hit urban areas the hardest. And how can the anti-stalking bill improve to offer better protection to victims? That's coming up. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's account on messaging application Telegram has been hacked. He therefore urged the public to ignore messages sent from the account and to report the issue to authorities. It is unclear how the account was hacked and what kind of messages were sent out following the incident. No further information has been provided as of now. The first of 6 littoral combat ships, LCS, purchased from Bowstead Naval Shipyard is expected to be delivered within 2 years. Senior Defence Minister Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein says the progress schedule of the construction project will be reported to the public in stages.
Kita diberikan 6 bulan selepas keputusan Kabinet untuk memobilisasikan usaha untuk menghidupkan semula projek ini. Ia melibatkan pengengagement dengan vendor di Perancis. Ia melibatkan engagement kita dengan agensi-agensi perbankan. Tetapi untuk Dewan ini saya boleh nyatakan bahawa sekurang-kurangnya dalam masa setahun 2 ni saya harap bahawa jelas kapal pertama akan dapat kita siapkan.
Hishamuddin added that the government is giving full cooperation to the Public Accounts Committee PAC in their investigation on the procurement of the ships. Last week, PAC revealed that the LCS project overspent 1.4 billion ringgit, with 400 million ringgit used to pay old debts from an old patrol vessel project. Despite 6 billion ringgit already paid out, none of the 6 vessels have yet to be delivered. Myanmar's military junta has not been cooperating on coordination of delivery of humanitarian aid to the country so far. According to Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Abdullah, the humanitarian aid mission in Myanmar faces various challenges, including the inability to meet and match demands and lack of funds.
Saifuddin also proposed the involvement of international organizations in the Myanmar Task Force to assist in humanitarian aid missions. These would include, among others, the International Committee of the Red Cross (ICRC) and civil society organizations from other ASEAN countries. He believes problems involving discrimination and favoritism in the provision of aid can be monitored by these international bodies. The Myanmar Task Force was established following the consultative meeting on ASEAN humanitarian assistance to Myanmar on May 6th. Since the junta seized power on February 1st, 2021, at least 2,114 people have been killed in Myanmar.
All political parties were urged to support the amendment of paternalistic terms within the federal constitution deemed discriminatory against mothers. This comes after the Court of Appeal overturned a Kuala Lumpur High Court landmark decision to allow Malaysian mothers the same right as Malaysian fathers to confer citizenship to their children born overseas. The NGO Sarawak Women for Society urged lawmakers to drop the word father and replace it with the word parent instead. According to senior lawyers, the best way to amend the federal constitution is by parliamentary processes. Parliament can vote to amend the federal constitution to change the original father to either parent for equal rights of all Malaysians regardless of genders. According to the existing law, overseas-born children of a Malaysian citizen father can automatically acquire Malaysian citizenship in accordance with Article 14 of the Federal Constitution. However, if the mother is a Malaysian citizen, the overseas-born children will not be automatically granted citizenship, but must apply for citizenship under Article 15(2) of the Federal Constitution. Malaysians are paying more to dine out and travel during the period of April to June. The Services Producer Price Index SPPI by the Department of Statistics Malaysia DOSM revealed that accommodation and food and beverage service activities jumped to 2.7% from the previous quarter.
The index traces price movements of food and beverages served at restaurants and mobile food services, alongside short-term lodging prices, events and catering. The OSM said in its quarterly report that prices for these services have jumped by a staggering 4.7% year-on-year. The SPPI rose by 1.5% to 111.9 in the second quarter compared to the same period last year, and 0.9% from the previous quarter. The SPPI are intended to trace price movements that reflect the supply and demand conditions in the service markets, with a view to facilitate the analysis of macroeconomic conditions and to monitor inflationary pressures.
A United Nations report says urban areas are responsible for 70% of greenhouse gas emissions, making climate change adaptation in these areas especially important. Here to discuss the challenges of urbanization and climate action that cities can explore is Executive Director of UN Habitat, Datuk Seri Maimunah Muhammad Sharif.
Urbanization is here to stay. Regardless you have COVID or regardless climate change, people will move from rural area to cities, and the cities will keep on expanding. And there's also a challenges that when the cities keep on expanding, and then a lot of challenges in terms of urban sprawl, pollution, traffic, congestions and all that, this will lead to the climate change, will lead to climate problem. That is things that I really see, because in Malaysia, in this region, and also Africa, is the two continents that have the really in terms of the rate of urbanization is the highest. And actually cities is only 2% of our land footprint, and yet we consume 70% of energy. If we have carbon emission 70%, and we produce waste 70%.
In order to tackle the climate crisis, the first step would be a change in mindset.
As a person, we have to change our own attitude first before we can change others. So the transformative change of the individual mindset, that is also very important in order to tackle the bigger part of in terms of the climate change. Second, if in the government, I realize that is we really need to look into the urban rethinking in terms of the urban design, and also the way that we provide, we plan our cities. I believe that well planned and well managed cities to a certain extent will reduce the challenges that I mentioned earlier.
Datuk Seri Maimunah was speaking to Astro Awani during her visit to the station earlier this morning. The visit is part of her official trip to Asia. Astro Awani and UN Habitat have formed a strategic collaboration on environmental, social and governance (ESG) and sustainable development goals (SDG) to meet the current needs involving urban sustainability, smart cities and the future of urbanization. Time for a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The move to criminalize stalking is set in motion, with the anti-stalking bill tabled for the first reading last week. While the Women's Aid Organization welcomed the decision, that could prevent more grievous injuries or even murders, often preceded by stalking, there could be further amendments to strengthen the law.
In addition to the 4 items that are listed in the Malaysian law, which are following, contacting you, sending you material, or loitering at your house or workplace, we should add 3 more items. So the first is doxing, or more broadly, publishing something about you or publishing something and pretending to be you as a way of getting to you. And so that could be threatening your safety and could cause distress as well. The second item is interfering with your property. So for example, someone may come to your house when you're not there and move things around. And so when you come back, you know someone has been there, although nothing has been destroyed in that sense. And then the third is spying or monitoring. So this is, classic kind of stalking where someone could be, maybe they're not following you physically, but they're monitoring or spying on you by maybe putting a device and so on. So these three things are additional examples of acts that could constitute stalking that, in number one, are very common forms of stalking behavior. If you look at any stalking case, these three items are quite common. And then secondly, there are things that there are actions that are included in lists in laws in other countries. So if you look at the UK or Singapore law or other jurisdictions, they do include these things. So we're saying, for the Malaysian law, why not? Let's also include these things as examples of stalking.
Based on a WAO survey in 2020, a third of Malaysians experience acts associated with stalking. For better protection of victims, Rencang suggests to allow for the court to issue extension of protection orders to avoid similar offences from reoccurring.
What we see other countries do, and what we know is the reality, is that the safety of someone being stalked, a survivor, a victim, is not guaranteed even if the investigation or case ends. So, for example, maybe stalker is found guilty, and then the judge then gives them a fine, 2,000, 3,000 ringgit, or whatever it is. At that point, there is no option currently for the judge to say, okay, I'm going to extend the protection order. So currently, as the bill is, the protection order would stop the moment the court case has ended. So what we're saying is that, hey, why not we give the option for courts to decide whether they want to extend the protection order beyond that period. So maybe, 6 months or 12 months or longer, even after investigation or court case ends. And again, this is something that is quite common in other jurisdictions where they even say that, if you look at UK or New Zealand and so on, they even say that, hey, you can, even if the person is acquitted, the judge can still, if they feel it's necessary, issue a protection order for the safety of the victim.
The Independent Police Conduct Commission IPCC bill was recently passed despite concerns over its lack of investigative and disciplinary powers. Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guests about police oversight and accountability. On the foreign front, China announced fresh military drills in the seas and airspace around Taiwan. This comes a day after the scheduled end of such exercises in protest against U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei last week. China's Eastern Theater Command says the exercises will focus on anti-submarine and sea assault operations. But the duration and location of the latest drills is not yet known. Pelosi's Taiwan visit infuriated China last week, leading to test launches of missiles over Taipei for the first time. The country has also called off military talks with the U.S., a move described by Pentagon, State Department and White House officials as an irresponsible overreaction. China, however, defended the decision with warnings that Washington must bear serious consequences. In a step to ease entry for international travelers, Hong Kong is shortening its COVID-19 hotel quarantine period from 7 days to 3 for all arrivals. The city's leader John Lee says the measures take effect from Friday. Arrivals will need to self-monitor for a further 4 days, during which they will be banned from entering high-risk places or joining mask-off activities. They can, however, still take public transport, go to work and shop at markets and malls if their test results are negative. Quarantine was formerly as long as 3 weeks. Currently, all arrivals must spend at least a week in hotel quarantine and comply with frequent testing orders. Lee says they're also working on reopening the border with mainland China, gradually bringing the Asian financial hub out of isolation. That's all for the show tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Soraya Mia, and we'll see you again.